Doors closing. Addison is next.
I love you.
What is going on to the boys in blue? We're back. We're better than ever for episode 2 of Blue Line Radio, BLR. We are in there like swimwear, baby. They thought we only, we were one hitter quitters. They thought, Miles, they thought it was gonna be over. Nah, we're back for episode 2. We're here for the long run. We're excited about this, man. Episode 2, man. I mean, last week obviously we had a couple of technical difficulties and also didn't have an intro video because I didn't make the YouTube channel. So if you haven't watched episode 1, stop and go watch episode 1. Then you come back here. You get all of our opinions on everything from the 2025 season and beyond. We talk postseason baseball in October, the highs, the lows, the highs and the lows. You know, me and Miles were at the Chance the Rapper concert last week, exactly a week ago, which was so much fun, brother. I mean, it was the best experience. It was my first Chance concert. It was Miles's first Chance concert, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We ran into Papa Rocks, Jeremiah Paparocki himself. I heard
Shout out to Jeremiah.
Hughes, and I turn over. I know who it is immediately.
Beautiful voice, by the way. I want to sleep on a pillow made of Jeremiah's voice.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I also saw, if you haven't already, Jeremiah just buzzed the fro.
He did.
New haircut. I'm digging it. It's a new him. I have never seen him with this short of hair since 2014, 2015, man. So it's great to see that. It got me wanting to shave the beard, man. Something new. But then I thought about it and I was like, nah, let me relax. I can't pull it off. But man, episode 2, man. I'm excited. How you feeling today, though, man? How's your week?
Bro, feeling good, man. Definitely a long week. And it's always so much better to record these from home. And for those who don't know, I've done a lot of podcasts from the office. I mean, and think about it. You're in an office, right? So like right now I'm in the comforts of my amazing home. And I just feel so much more comfortable, more free. I can really talk how I want to talk. So this is great. I'm pumped. I'm ready to get into it today, man.
Also, like, not to give a shot at Miles's occupation, and I'm not going to just throw his occupation out there, but it happens to me at work too, where like Miles's Wi-Fi cut off. And that for me was like, Miles works at a pretty important place, I would say, in the city of Chicago. And even for me, like at my job, if you call me, I won't get the call, and it won't say missed call. It'll just not happen. Now, the other person on the other end, the call like goes straight to voicemail. They could leave a voicemail. I won't receive it. So I don't know why. I think I work in the pits of hell. I think Jeepers Creepers probably is field right outside. But yeah, man, it's very strange. But getting into episode 2, man, we talked everything last week. I feel like from the 2025 season, like I said, the highs and the lows, everything from, blue to red when we talk about this team. But one guy specifically that I feel like we have to talk about, who kind of had the perfect example of the 2025 Chicago Cubs, is Kyle Tucker. Today we're going to be talking about the Kyle Tucker saga as a whole, not just what's coming for the future in winter meetings, but really just breaking down the entire thing as a whole. Now, everybody knows, if you follow me on TikTok and you follow me on social media, that I always do my day one of waiting for the Cubs to sign a free agent. And I stand next to my Christmas tree and I just stare at it and like play with the ornaments and wait for us to get that big guy. 13 days, Miles, 13 days I was waiting for a gift under the tree. And I remember going on live immediately after it happened. I remember talking to you, how ecstatic I was. Saul gave everybody else. Gabe wasn't as ecstatic as us, but obviously, what's he excited about on 35th and Shields when it pertains to the Chicago Cubs? He could give a shit. You know what I mean? But
Shout out to Gabe.
shout out to Gabe. But he was just listening. He didn't really give a shit about Kyle Tucker.
Fair enough.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Why would he? But no, man. December 13th, the Chicago Cubs trade away number 14 overall pick of the 2024 draft, Cam Smith, who was a first-round pick for the Chicago Cubs, absolute baller. Isaac Paredes, who they acquired for Christopher Morel just a season prior, and of course Hayden Wesneski, who, say what you want about Hayden Wesneski, again, another guy where there's the highs and the lows. That's really what it is. Now, the Chicago Cubs in return got Kyle Tucker straight up. I think that was pretty fair looking back on it. Now, the conversation back then was Matt Shaw versus Cam Smith. Did the Chicago Cubs make the right move? But let's just unpack it as a whole. Kyle Tucker, who was an all-star for the Chicago Cubs in 2025. You're looking at his stats right now. It's a 4.5 WAR in 2025 and 500 at-bats, 133 hits, 22 home runs, 266 batting average, 91 runs, 73 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, a 377 OBP. He slugged 464, an OPS of 841, and an OPS plus of 143. Now, the defense as a whole, is he going to be a Gold Glove finalist this year? I believe he's on the list right now. We'll see how that all pans out, but you're obviously looking at a 4-time All-Star, a World Series champion, a Gold Glove winner one time, and a Silver Slugger. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything finalizes because of the injuries if he does win awards this year. Did sometime, I will say it's very fair. He missed probably over a month, if we're going to be completely honest. We'd have to check on that, but I would believe he missed about a month or maybe a little over of baseball here. In return, we have a guy like Cam Smith, Miles, who, I mean, you and I were super high on him. He was in the corner outfield this year. They didn't have him at base, which is very surprising for me because he was incredible in college. So it's very surprising to see he wasn't in the hot corner because at Florida State University, he was a dog. You're looking at a 1.9 WAR, 441 at-bats, 9 home runs, 236 batting average, 51 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, and OPS of a 671, slugging 358. We're going to go to Isaac Paredes, which honestly, surprisingly, if you would have told me that Kyle Tucker only had 2 more home runs than Isaac Paredes this year, I would have said you were crazy. But 20 home runs, 254 batting average, slugging 458 with an OPS of 809. Not the greatest year from a health perspective and just playing every single day. He only had 378 at-bats, but a 2.3 WAR. Isaac Paredes was pretty serviceable. He's playing third, first, and second. He was all over the place for the Houston Astros. And then, of course, Hayden Wesneski, who started the year with Tommy John surgery. So we're going to completely X out that one as it pertains to this because we'll have to just see what happens in future years. But, Miles, that long-winded statement was all to bring down the important question for you. So far, let's not talk about the extension, but for what the Cubs gave up in this year, in this sample size, how would you grade this trade almost a year later, about 10 months later?
I will say that I don't regret it. I think if I'm the front office, I'd make that move again and 3 times on a Tuesday. Overall, how it panned out, maybe like a B. I think that Kyle Tucker definitely made that lineup better. I think his influence, his approach at the plate definitely made a lot of the hitters around him better. I think especially PCA, especially in the beginning of the season. When things went bad, it kind of went bad for everyone. And so that's, there is definitely a risk there. And we kind of got to accept that there is a bit of a risk factor there, not because of, I don't doubt who Kyle Tucker is a ball player at all. But things happen. There was a lot of that we gave up, and we were banking a lot on this one player to really help propel this team. And when things went bad, it was ugly. That's just the truth of it. But when things were great, it was incredible. And I still think that offense overall still was able to sort of pull through and adjust, even when Kyle Tucker wasn't hitting all that great, even in the playoffs when he wasn't really hitting for that much slug. So I don't grade it. I don't hate it. So I'm grading it really as like a B. It wasn't like crazy. I think if Tucker, stays healthy and he's able to, we didn't need him to like ball out every single month. But at the least, I would have been okay if he was hitting like 260, right, in those last few months as opposed to hitting what was it? I have the stats here. 218 in July, 244 in August, 158 in September. I know he got injured again, but
Mhm.
at least, if there was like a floor that I would prefer, at least he's hitting like 250, 260, because then there's still a little bit of productivity there that we could still work with. And I think maybe the Cubs maybe pull out 8 or 7 more games. While that may not sound like a lot, you add 8 or 7 wins to our record this year, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it. I don't regret it. I do wish that he would have been able to stay healthy throughout that last push of the season, because I do think that impacts this ball club. A lot of that offense really did run through his productivity. But going forward, you also got to know that guys are going to get hot, guys are going to be cold, so you also have to step up. It can't just be because of Kyle Tucker everything went downhill. That can't be the case. We all have at bats as well.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. And I think it's completely fair to kind of have that conversation. And I do remember the Dick Brigade. That's what I call them when LA rolled into town and everybody was marching down the street saying that they were gonna beat the Cubs, and then we
Yeah,
busted their ass. And Kyle Tucker
yeah,
was the biggest part to that. He was the key
yeah,
contributor. And I said during that series when we beat LA that early on, and now granted, LA is playing in the World Series today. So I'm
yeah.
not gonna say anything crazy right now and say that we were the better team, but I was ready to give Kyle Tucker a blank check at the first half of the season. At the
Yes,
end of the season, come October, you go 0 for 4 in a couple elimination games. I mean, it's very key, to have that spark on this team, because when
it's
he was
huge.
there, like you said, this offense was the best offense in baseball, and that's not an
Mhm.
understatement. They were clear cut, and you had the rotation to back it up. First half of the season, I'm using Chat GPT right now, so please bear with me. He hit around 291. The three splits were 291, 395, 537 in his first 83 games. Now, on the early span of that, he hit about 284. You're looking at 12 home runs, 10 doubles, 4 triples, 39 RBIs, and 16 stolen bases. That was in the first 59 games. So when you already have 16 stolen bases in the first 59 games, obviously you can tell something happened for you to only finish with 25. Kyle Tucker was on a tear. I feel like from a base running perspective, after the hairline fracture to his finger, I believe it was this finger, if I'm not mistaken. I completely forget which finger it was. I know it was one of them
Yeah,
was index finger.
right.
With
Sliding
that,
to second base, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
we kind of thought that was going to be very telling about how serious that injury was going to be. But then, if I
Hmm.
remember, Saul corrected me, he was batting over 280 after he did that. He missed a couple days, and then he was fine for about a month, and then it just went all downhill from there. So, was he playing through it? Was it just a slump? Did it have any lingering issues? I don't know. But the first half of the season for Kyle Tucker was exactly what we all wanted. You know what I mean? And for
Yeah,
me to make a video the other day, just asking the question, beg the question of, hey, should we have just kept Cody Bellinger? Because the numbers are fairly similar in multiple different categories. Obviously, there is a short portion right field, and having Aaron Judge in your lineup does definitely impact a lot of things. But I wouldn't have asked that question in the first half of the 2025 season. I wouldn't have asked that
right.
question on All-Star game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not possible. I didn't think we would even be having these conversations. Kyle Tucker, to me, um, was a tale of two cities. And that's really just what it is at the end of the day, man. I don't know exactly what happened in the second half of the year. Well, I got a great opportunity to interview him and talk to him at the National, and, really just trying to read his energy was kind of hard, you know what I mean? Because a lot of guys are guarded up, especially as pertains to media, but
yeah.
seemed like a genuine dude, seemed like he liked it here. But definitely interesting. I do have a couple stories about some things that happened, but I'm not gonna say that here. But yeah, it was definitely one of those things where I think you can just point the finger, no pun intended, at a bunch of different things that to why Kyle Tucker's second half didn't go as planned and why October. Granted, I did see him hit a monster dong in October in Game 4 against the Brewers at Wrigley Field
Yeah,
with my girlfriend, and
yeah.
it was incredible. But I definitely don't know, man. I really do think it was interesting, man. How would you grade the 2025 season of Kyle Tucker, or would you have to kind of split it in half, kind of like we're talking about?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I do think about that. I'm like, okay, how would we really great this season. I mean, when you look at his numbers in the first half, absolutely incredible. But it's clear that injury, it really started to bother him. For him to not even hit like above 250 in the second half, it's unfortunate, right? And yes, I acknowledge he had multiple injuries, so I don't know. It's difficult because I know we're kind of saving the extension talks, but I have not jumped ship on Kyle Tucker. I just haven't. I think it would be really cool to see like a full season of him healthy, because when he's healthy, yeah, his impact is crazy. So I don't know. I don't know what I would grade him. I think maybe on the next episode I'll probably give you a definite answer, because I think I have a little bit of a conflict right now with, when I look at his season overall. Is it unfortunate that, that him and the staff didn't shut it down when they probably should have shut it down? I think that's unfortunate. I really do think that's unfortunate. And when I say unfortunate, it's not me being pissed off at someone specifically, but it's like, hey man, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not helping us either. So I
And
don't know. I would love to see a full season of Kyle Tucker. I really would.
if I'm not mistaken, too, man, and somebody in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember the exact number, but I believe we were 10 to 15 games over 500 at the timing of the hairline fracture in his finger. I think we were in a position to
Oh
where
well.
if we wanted to sit Kyle Tucker for a little bit, we could have. Now, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. If we were less games back, sure, I'll own it. But I remember the Cubs were red hot, and we were in a very comfortable place. Now, it
Yeah.
kind of gets you kind of like not emotional, but just like frustrated when you mismanage the Kyle Tucker injury, not once, but twice,
Hmm.
because you kind of kept him out a little longer than you should have with the hamstring or the calf. Was it the calf? For
Oh, it
the
was one of
second
those.
injury. I know it
Yeah.
was a lower body injury for the second one. It was
Yeah.
strained. And then the whole Cade Horton situation with, oh yeah, well, he was coughing, so now he has a fucking fracture in his rib, and we don't know how that happened. And it's like, for you to publicly say that and then us know that Kyle Tucker was playing with a hairline fracture when he has the opportunity to make over $300 million this offseason, and 300 is probably the floor of how much he's going to be making. I'm being generous. The conversation probably starts at 4, I would say, at minimum, but we'll get into that next, of course. But like, it just frustrates me, Miles, because like you want to be upset at the player, but when you see a guy like Cade Horton not even be able to pitch during the playoffs in October because we mismanaged whatever the hell happened to him on that road trip in Cincinnati, to where it went from
Yeah.
I'm coughing to I mean, you and I were at his last game.
We're at the last game.
We were at his last game where he just
And
walked
Justin
off.
Seals' last game too, which is
We were,
crazy. But
yeah,
yeah.
I don't think we should go to any more games together. It's kind of,
Uh, I don't know, man.
you know what I mean? I think we'll have to we'll be careful. We'll be careful is what I'll say. We'll
We're
pick and
not
choose.
cursed, people. We're not cursed.
We're not. We've seen a lot of
It's
dubs.
just
We've seen a lot
yes.
of dubs. It's just
Yes.
unfortunate. But no, man, it's definitely one of those things for me where it's definitely on the front office, but you also have to like hold Kyle Tucker accountable as well. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
when we talk about like how great he can be, I know the conversation is always he can be a top 10 player in this league. But
Hmm.
the problem with him last year was the broken shin, or the fractured shin, if I'm not mistaken. He
Oh, that's right.
missed the majority of 2024, and then obviously you missed time in 2025 because of lingering issues that you just wanted to play through. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I'm the guy. Gabe knows. I'm the guy that says, well, if he's not playing, he should be playing. And then if he's playing, I'm like, he shouldn't be playing. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right. Right.
you're damned if you do,
Right.
damned if you don't. But I think
Yeah.
like for me, the conversation with Kyle Tucker is the best ability is availability. How available are you going to be every single season? And
Hmm.
that matters when we're talking about dollars. And I think
So
that's
important.
kind of our next conversation. Before we get into how much you'd pay Kyle Tucker, I want to ask you a question. Do you look around the league before you put pen and paper together? Because you got a guy like Kyle Schwarber, who 9 years ago today started in game 1 after only 5 or 6 months post
Yeah.
ACL tear. I mean, absolutely
Shorbs, you legend. We love you, man.
batted 400 in the World Series, by the way. I mean, hitting monster dongs the rest of his career
Yeah.
after that. World Series champion, been the one with Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have that conversation about bringing Kyle Schwarber back into the fold and letting Kyle Tucker walk? A Kyle for a Kyle, in a way.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had there. And while I think Schwarber, not saying I don't want him on the Cubs because I prefer him being a Cub, but I think he fits in Philly so well. And I I shouldn't blame everything on the weather, but I do think some of those numbers that we see that he has in Philly, I think they're nerfed a little bit when he comes to Wrigley Field, but I still think he's hitting like at least 35 to 40. You know what I mean? I just want to put that out there that Wrigley Field is not easy to hit at. And I know that we would primarily use him as a DH because he ain't gonna be playing over Sad, right? That ain't happening. So yeah, I think there's a conversation to be had there for sure. And like I said earlier, I'm not completely out on Kyle Tucker. I would love for him to come back. But I think for sure, if we're able to have that conversation, and by the way, Kyle Schwarber would be a little bit cheaper. Actually, I think significantly cheaper
Yeah,
than Kyle Tucker. I mean, I'm hearing like 100 million. I'm hearing 150. I heard 200 million out there a little bit.
I'll take it.
Um,
I'll take it. Like you're
I'll take
looking
it,
at
man. I'll take
like
it.
here's where I'm at with it, right? Let's compare the Tuckers. You got Kyle Tucker, who in 2025 hit 22 home runs, 266 batting average, an OPS of an 841, slugging 464. Like all of that is great. 25 stolen bases. I'll throw that in there because that's a part of his
Mhm.
game that Kyle Schwarber isn't going to emulate. You know what I mean? But
Right.
when you look at the other side of things, if I told you player A and player B, one is potentially getting $400 million and player B is getting 150 to 200, and you look at a 2025 season of a 4.7 WAR, 56 home runs, 240 batting average, 132 RBIs, and 10 stolen bases, slugging 563, OPS of a 928, OPS plus of 150. I mean, Kyle Schwarber was a fucking monster, for lack of better words. Like that's just
Yeah.
what it was. And I think for me, man, you know it works here. You know how great he is. You know the personality. You know how amazing he is in the community, what he does for the CPD and the CFD
Oh,
and first responders as a whole.
he'd be
Schwarber's
huge.
Neighborhood Heroes. I got a chance to work with them
Yeah.
during April when they rolled into town, which was
Yeah.
incredible. And like the people in his camp are incredible. Whereas with Kyle Tucker, not saying that's not the case about Kyle Tucker, but it's just like there's so many unknowns about how much he really wants to be in Chicago. And is it about the money? Is it not about the money? At the end of the day, I'm never going to tell you like to not get that bag. You know what I mean? But you
Right, bro.
know,
Yeah.
Schwarber loved Chicago. Now, the only conversation is does Schwarber want to come back to Chicago? Because if someone
That's
told me I wasn't worth $10 million on arbitration, and then I went on to hit over 200 home runs in a span of 4 or 5 seasons, I might not be rocking with the Ricketts and Jed Hoyer at the moment, Miles. So do you?
yeah.
That's the question I want to ask you. Do you think Schwarber would want to come back, or would that $10 million arbitration kind of come back and bite the Cubs in the ass because they basically told him you're not worth it?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's really up to Kyle, right? Are we holding grudges? If he is, I get it. I understand. You thought I wasn't. I mean, shoot, it goes for a lot of athletes, and you go back, you see a team or a coach, and they thought that you weren't very good, and you end up becoming a baller, and things work out for you. Then they're like, hey man, come back. You're like, well, hold up, whoa, wait a minute now, hold
Wait a
up.
minute, wait a minute now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that's not Kyle Schwarber's character. I feel like that's not his character. It doesn't really align with who he
Sure.
is. But at the same time, hey man, he could pull out a move where he's like, no,
Yeah.
I'll go somewhere. I'll sign somewhere for less before I sign with you guys again.
It's kind of like, isn't it? Ken Griffey Jr. said he would never in a million years sign with the Yankees, even if
Yeah,
all the other teams in the league told him no, he'd just
yeah,
retire. And it's like it's
yeah.
sometimes people take it personally, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting. I think for me, man, like not to say that Kyle Tucker can't be that guy, but I would love for the Chicago Cubs to have a guy who's going to hit 40 home runs a year. The last time we had that was
Oh my gosh,
2005. Derek Lee finished third in MVP voting.
D Lee.
Come on, absolute legend. Finished third in MVP voting, of MVP voting. Believe Gold Glove finalist and also Silver Slugger finalist. So I mean, I think for me,
That's
you
my
know,
goat.
to know I was 5 years old the last time a guy on the Cubs hit over 40 home runs. And prior to that was obviously Sammy Sosa, who that was just a regular thing. It's kind of frustrating, Miles, because I feel like that's kind of the
Absolutely.
standard of having at least one guy on the squad who's gonna hit absolute piss missiles. So can
Yeah.
Tucker be that? Maybe, but even you look at his career and you kind of break down like who he's been as a player, and you just kind of don't see that power bat that I feel like this team definitely does lack at times. You know what I mean? I think there's a
Yeah.
lot to be said. You know, Kyle Tucker has had back-to-back seasons in 2021 and 2022 of 30 home runs. He hit that 30 mark exactly both times, and then in 2023. I'll give it to him. He hit 29 and had 112 RBIs. That's an incredible season.
Monster
30 stolen
season.
bases. Like, let's be real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But after that, man, even just the availability, you're looking at a guy who, I mean, it's questionable. You know, 2022, 2023, he plays over 150 games each. 2024, he plays 78. 2025, he plays 136. I
Yeah.
think that's the thing with Kyle Schwarber when we talk about the best ability being availability. Kyle Schwarber is available. Kyle Schwarber
He's
is going to be.
available.
I mean, I'm gonna break down. Here are the years from 2022 on. 155 games played in 2022, 160 in 2023, 150 in 2024, and 162 in 2025. And like that's important to me. And I understand Kyle Schwarber at this point in his career, age 32. I don't know when his birthday is. He's born March 5th, so he'll be 33. You know what I mean? How
Yeah.
long are you going to be able to sustain that? I could give a fuck, honestly. You know, we still have the baseball above the Budweiser sign that he smacked in the 2015 playoffs against the
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals. Like
Yeah.
the staple is there. If you want an argument right now about why the Chicago Cubs should sign Kyle Schwarber, just go look at the Budweiser sign, baby. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. Go up there and see the 2016 World Series flag. The guy who batted 400 in the World Series without even finishing rehab for his torn ACL. That's all you got to. That's all you got to see. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Kyle, show me the ring. You know what I mean? That's it. Ink to paper, just like that. But
Can we
we're gonna
also point out that he drew 104 walks, 108 walks this year?
damn. And you still had 50. You still had 56 home runs.
Right.
Do you know how many at bats were wasted because of walks? Not that it's a waste. Like you know, you're on base. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
taking opportunities away from him to go yard, and he still finds 56 more at bats to go
Still
yard.
finds one. Yeah.
It's incredible. We'll have a whole offseason discussion, and I'm very excited to talk some Scooby Dooby Doo with you because I want Tariq Scooball, but that we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Tune
Oh
in.
man.
Maybe episode 3 we'll have our. Is it too early to have our free agency kind of early conversations, or what do you think? Should we
I
wait a little bit?
I don't. I think it's okay to have little conversations here, but as
Yeah,
soon as the season's done, I really want to get. I got a wish list.
yeah.
Oh my god. I'll make a whole list.
Were you watching? Here's what's different between Miles and I's pod and others. Others, I feel like don't mention other Cubs podcasters. I'm going to. Our guy Lance Gosnowski was on the Marquee Network today. I forget who he was talking to, but I believe there's a club option with Shota Imanaga.
That's
This
right. That's another
and
big conversation.
and they're talking about, hey man, maybe we just wait on a Michael King or a Dylan Cease and we let Shota go. And like me and you can definitely have those
Mm.
conversations another episode because I'm
Mhm.
very excited to have that. You know, I'm
Yeah.
a big Mike guy. I love Mike. Like
Shota Minaga has my entire heart, man.
it's it's
I
showtime.
got to give a take that isn't biased, which
That's what
is
I'm
tough for
saying.
me because I love
So
Shota, man.
so we'll figure it out. We're gonna sit on
Yeah.
that for another episode. But I wanted
Yeah.
to I wanted to talk to you about that. I couldn't wait till after the show, but like it definitely was like when I heard that, if you would have told me that in April that we're having those conversations, I would have been what went wrong? What went wrong? And
Woo.
like you look at the numbers, it makes sense, but we'll get into it another time. Let's stick on Kyle Tucker. I'm talking about everybody but Kyle Tucker in the Kyle Tucker episode. I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. But let's talk
It's a lot
money,
to it.
man. Let's get
Yeah.
into it. I know
Okay.
Northwestern legend right here. You know, they're all about the big Benjamins. They're all about the money. So
Yeah, you know.
I know you've been surrounded around people who that's their job is just doing what
Yes.
financially makes sense. Miles
Yes.
Porter, today, does it financially make sense to offer Kyle Tucker a contract worth over $400 million?
No.
Even if that's 401.
I gotta gotta add the extra dollar there. Yeah, I mean the NU Kellogg guy in me is gonna say no. I just I and like everyone else, if you would have asked me that question back in specifically April to like June, I would
Yeah.
have been like, Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Even some of July, if we're going to be honest. You know what I
Some
mean?
of July, yes. Some of July as well. I gotta say no. I have to say no. And it's just I don't while I think that he provides production that any team in baseball would love to have on that roster, I also got to look at, like you said, we already kind of touched on this availability, right? I don't question his ability to stay healthy, but it has been a bit of an issue, right? The past 2 seasons, the Chicago Cubs already very frugal with their money, very meticulous, extremely calculated to a fault sometimes, but I will give them credit that it's
Sure.
worked out a little bit. And I've probably, as you know, in our group chat, probably been the hardest on them. But it probably makes me the most mad out of all of us in the group chat. But I will give them credit when credit is due. They are very, very financially aware with their money and it's worked out. I don't think that 400 million is worth it when it comes to Kyle Tucker right now. I would rather maybe see us spend a little more of that money in the pitching department, maybe spend it on a player that's can be more available for maybe less years and a little bit less money. I can't do it. I can't do it just because I'm also looking at the Cubs as an organization. If we give Kyle Tucker $400 million, the Cubs will not spend any more money until that contract is done.
Yeah.
Every contract after that, Mike, maybe we're signing someone 20 million at the most. And that's about it. This team will not spend at all
Yeah.
after that. They will not do it. So I kind of got to look at who we are as an organization and how we operate, right? Are we willing to give this man this much money and then kind of just bank on the fact that it works out for the next, I don't know, what, 9, 10 years, however it may be?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. If we were like a team that had ownership like the Guggenheim, right? Like the Dodgers, different conversation.
Yeah.
Different conversation,
Yeah.
right? And
We'll
same for
stretch it
like the
out.
White Sox too. We'd
Yeah.
be like, hell no. And so
Yeah.
just because of who we are as an organization, I gotta say no. I
No,
have to.
I'm with you. If we were the Dodgers, man, we'll give you $100 million and we'll give you $1 million a year for the next 100 years. You know what I mean? Like
Right, exactly.
that's just the way they move. And I'm sure
Exactly.
we're gonna have a lockout pod. I don't even know what the COVID. It'll be like a COVID Chronicle series because baseball will be gone in a couple of years. But it's just one of those things, man.
Can we
Where
talk about that at some point too? Can we
we
please
will.
touch on this? Okay.
We will talk about the lockout. And
Yeah.
I think this offseason is when we can definitely really just break down the future of the
Yeah, for sure.
lockout, especially depending on how the next week goes. Because if you just
Hmm.
let's say I'm no Dodger fan. I'm just saying if the Dodgers sweep and you kind of start to have those conversations like, damn, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I definitely think for me, man, you look at a situation with Kyle Tucker like this. Kyle Tucker could get $400 million, and you can call
Hmm.
it a day over 10 years. I don't even know how old Kyle Tucker is. I believe he is at the ripe age right now of 28. You have him
Right.
until he's 38 years old. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
about to be 29. Or you can pay Kyle Tucker 400 mil over 10 years, or you can bring in Kyle Schwarber, 4 or 5 year deal, which we know the
Hmm.
Cubs would love to do more than a 10-year deal. That's been a big problem for them over the last several years, is really just inking onto that long-term deal.
Hmm.
You give him what, 150 to 200 mil. And then with that extra 200 mil that you would have used for one guy, you
Yeah.
can bring in a Michael King, a Dylan Cease, somebody along
Yes.
those lines
Hmm.
without even giving up Shota Imanaga. You could if you want, but you could
Yeah.
keep both. And I think that's like, if you told me, what would I rather have? Dylan Cease and Kyle Schwarber or Kyle Tucker? I think my answer is Kyle Schwarber and Dylan Cease. And both are former Cubs. So, I mean, I'm a little
Crazy
biased
when you
there
think
from
about
that
it. Yeah.
perspective. It is that we'll be bringing back the
It's
guys we once
insane.
traded away. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
That's
Sometimes
fine.
you gotta right that wrong. When we brought back Jamer Candelario, I was very
Yeah.
excited. I
Yeah.
understand Jamer wasn't really that guy when he was
Right.
here. World Series champion Jamer Candelario, by the way, was a part of that 2016 club. No one really knows that.
No. Yeah.
Played a couple games here and there, but it's something for me, man, where like if it came down to it, you're telling me I get Kyle Schwarber and a starting pitcher. I can't say no to that. And like let's say we don't even need a starter. Let's say you believe that Justin Steele is going to return and everything's going to be perfectly fine. If you believe that, that's fine. You know what I mean? But like, you got to get a closer. Then you got to get a legitimate bullpen arm alongside a bat, and that you
Yeah.
can't just bring in Kyle Tucker, because I know deep in my heart of hearts, if we bring back Kyle Tucker and the Cubs finally spend that big check, we are not the Dodgers. We are not the Mets. That is the last move and only move we will make the entire offseason. The rest will
That'll be
be
it.
those random ass money ball relievers that Jed Hoyer just finds out of nowhere that end up being pretty good. Drew
Right. Yeah.
Pearson,
Yeah. It ends up. Yeah.
Drew Palm was
Yeah.
pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie. I know he didn't play in over a year, but he was pretty serviceable for the
Caleb Thielbar. Oh my goodness.
Caleb Thielbar. I mean, the list goes on. Everybody not named Ryan Presley really impressed me this year. Press couldn't impress is what I'll say with that. Couldn't do it. Couldn't fucking pay me to tell you that Ryan Presley was good on the Cubs. Not once.
No, I had high hopes for him too. I really did.
It was very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's kind of where I'm at today, and it sucks because I feel like I literally was the biggest meat writer of the Kyle Tucker saga all off season last year. And
Yeah.
for me to just like that,
Mhm.
it's kind of sad, but I think you kind of start to feel it. My boy Rico is a diehard Yankee fan, but he lives in Houston, and he talks about it all the time about how many times he's seen Kyle Tucker play in person. He said, "You gotta pay that guy. You gotta pay that guy." So like, I acknowledge that Kyle Tucker is likely going to end up a LA Dodger or a Philadelphia Philly or go somewhere else, and he's probably going to rake, and he's probably going to be incredible, and we're going to look back and say, "Damn, we should have kept that guy." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, man, it just is what it is. You have to continue doing what you're doing. So my thing, if the Cubs front office is listening to this pod right now, is it's okay to let Tucker walk, but you need to have a plan. It's okay if Tucker hits 40 nukes next year, as long as Schwarber hits 41. You know what I mean? Like, you have to replace him with something. If you let Tucker walk and you tell me that, hey, we brought back Cody Bellinger, or hey, we're trusting the farm and we're trusting PCA to hit a magical 30 home runs again, which I don't think any of us saw happening. And that second half really kind of showed that, that people started to make adjustments to his game, and he wasn't adjusting.
Yes.
So we really do need that lockdown, certain, this is my guy. He's going to give you X amount of home runs, X amount of OBP, X amount of RBIs a year, and that's what he does. And that for me is Kyle Schwarber. I don't think that's Kyle Tucker. If it is Kyle Tucker, I'm happy for him. But man, we got kind of a shorter episode today. I feel like we really don't got that much else to talk about, Miles. Is there anything you wanted to bring up before we start to get out of here?
My last, because you made this point earlier about a closer, so I just want to put this out there.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried for Daniel Palencia, right? I don't want to see the same thing that happened to Adbert Alzolay, where he's a really good closer, right? He looks good. Like, hey man, we got our guy. And the next year now we got arm issues and certain things are you know what I mean? I don't think Daniel Palencia is a closer, but he's a hell of a setup guy.
Yeah.
And I would love for the Cubs to sort of address that too. And while I know this team, they really, really love, the little, diamonds in the rough to think, hey, this guy had a 5.36 ERA last year, but his spin rate on his curve, like, okay, I get it. I understand. And you guys are very good at locating these. You guys are very good at bringing the best out of these players. I think we have to give them credit for that. It is incredible. They're seeing something that the average fan is not seeing, which is why they're in this position of running this team. Now, I'm still a ball player. I would love to get us a fireballer. They exist. They're out there. Can we get maybe? I mean, bro, there's guys in college right now that are pumping 101, 102 that are going to enter the draft next year, whatever the case may be, or guys pitching overseas, right? Just we don't need to have. I don't know, man. Can we just have someone else? Besides Daniel Palencia and occasionally Brad Keller, who I don't know if he's going to be on the roster next year. I'm not sure the details of his contract.
Brad Keller, let me check it out.
It'd be cool to have at least 2 or 3 dudes in that pen that bring it a little bit, because as a hitter, it really does throw you off when you have like a guy like Thielbar or Pomerantz, and then you face probably an unfair comparison, but he's the only player that comes to mind. You face like a Mizorowski out of the pen.
Yeah.
It's huge. It makes a difference. You go from 94 to 102.
Yep. No, I hear you.
Right.
I think it's definitely valid and it's warranted. And like my big thing yesterday, I was talking to Griffin Herring, who can pump over 102 miles per hour on the regular. He plays with the Colorado Rockies.
Very cool.
We were interviewing him and Connor Griffin, #1 prospect in baseball, the man of the year. Shout out Griff. Griffin also, by the way, if you didn't know, in high school he pumped 96 miles an hour off the mound. He's a shortstop by nature, but yeah, that's your next Shohei Ohtani unicorn. Even though they're not using him that way, there's plenty of guys who can throw. I mean, you're talking about Connor Griffin, who at shortstop from the mound can pump 96 miles an hour. But this is an organization that loves the Kyle Hendricks guys, and like unfortunately, that's just not the game of baseball right now. And that's okay to have guys like that who can locate the ball and paint the corners and do exactly what you want. But like you said, man, I said at the beginning of the year, I wanted a Aroldis Chapman in a Chicago Cubs uniform again. I wanted the Cubs to bring him back. And everybody told me he was washed. And everybody told me it's just 105 with no location. And he ends up being the reliever of the year. And also the saving grace to my fantasy season. So shout out Aroldis Chapman. But I think for me, man, you look at this squad, you look at what they're able to do. And it's just like, I don't see Palencia being that guy. I think he's there by committee. I think he's there because he throws the hardest. And that's really the only thing I can say about Palencia is he throws hard, but he really doesn't throw that hard. He just like, he's the smartest guy in the classroom, but what school did you go to? You know what I mean? Like, that's really like, I'm not trying to be that guy that's a jerk, but it's like, it's just one of those things for me where it's like, you really don't know. And then as for Brad Keller, I'm trying to look up his contract right now. I don't think he's going to be a part of the 2025 team. He's on a 1-year deal with the Chicago Cubs. Yeah, it was $1.5 million. So I'd imagine that's a lot bigger. He's set up to be a free agent. I imagine a lot of teams are going to be in on a guy like Brad Keller. That's really what it is at the end of the day. Like, can we bring these guys back? And if you are signing Kyle Tucker to a deal over $350 million, can you afford to bring him back? Because the Cubs, we say what we want. The payroll is top 10 in baseball. Like, we do have significant contracts on this team, whether they're good contracts or not. We have all offseason to talk about it.
Get ready, people. Wait till you hear Mike talk about.
I look. Whether we're going to talk about the highest paid guy on the roster, not being able to hit with runners in scoring position, whether we're talking about two players who I would imagine that most of the fan base wants out, who both have no trade clauses in the corner outfield. We could talk about it all day. We'll get there. I promise you. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here. Obviously, you're here on the YouTube channel, but if you're listening to this on Spotify or you're watching a clip on TikTok or Instagram, make sure you follow us on YouTube if you want to see Miles' beautiful face every single day. Maybe his amazing, amazing girlfriend will walk in the background every now and again, and she'll come say hi. I'm in the basement, so no one's going to come down here, unfortunately. It's a little sad when I'm editing sometimes. But no, man, I have that giant people who don't know, I have the giant Clark Street Sports Kyle Schwarber sign and that they wanted to throw away. So me and Kyle just be chilling sometimes. I just look over. I'm looking at him right now. He's just chilling over there. But no, man, we appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back next week. I don't know exactly what we'll talk about next week. I think it'll really just determine and come down to the World Series and what's going on with that, and anything else we want to talk about in the game. But we have all off season to talk so much Cubs baseball, man. I'm super excited. Again, if you could, please and thank you, go check out episode 1 on YouTube if you haven't already, because I just uploaded that one. It's my bad. It's been a busy week, man. I've been busy. I've been stressed out, tired. You know what I mean? We're here, man. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for listening. Until next time. Peace.
Doors closing. Addison is next.